The shaking in Israel has reminded the world of something we often forget in the rush of our daily lives. Nothing on this earth is permanent. We walk through our routines, build our plans, make future goals, and construct our sense of security around things that can be taken away in a moment. We rely on structures, on systems, on governments, on money, on the stability of the environment around us. Yet when the ground trembles beneath our feet, everything we thought was stable reveals its true fragility. The massive shaking in Israel is more than a physical event. It is a message etched into the earth itself, telling us that humanity is not in control. For all our intelligence, our technology, our strength, and our global power, we remain dependent on forces we cannot see and moments we cannot predict. And in that realization, there is a deep truth. Our foundation must be built on something eternal, something unshakable, something that will not crumble when the world does. When the earth shakes, it exposes what we have built our lives upon. Some people discover that their foundation was fear. Others realize it was routine, comfort, or false security. And yet, there are those who discover that even as the ground moves, their heart remains still. Those are the ones who have rooted themselves in something beyond the physical world. Scripture says that those who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion, which cannot be moved. This doesn't mean they never feel fear or uncertainty, but it means they are anchored by a strength that does not depend on the stability of circumstances. When everything else trembles, they remain firm because their foundation is God Himself. The shaking in Israel also reminds us how small we truly are. A single tremor can humble nations, freeze economies, and silence crowds. It can turn thousands of plans into dust and remind people that life is fragile. And yet, this fragility is not meant to terrify us. It is meant to bring clarity. Earthly things are temporary. Human life is a vapor. Kingdoms rise and fall. Structures that took years to build can be cracked in seconds. But the one who commands the earth, the one who speaks to storms, the one who holds the universe in place, He remains unmoved. When the earth quakes, heaven stays steady. For many, this shaking serves as a wake-up call. It forces people to reflect on what they have been trusting, what they have been prioritizing, and what they have been ignoring. People chase careers, money, politics, relationships, recognition, and comfort, believing these things will give them stability. But every earthly thing has an expiration date. Every earthly kingdom has a limit. Every human effort has a weakness. Only God is forever, and in times of shaking, people realize that nothing else can truly hold them. It is in these moments that hearts turn back to faith, back to prayer, back to the awareness that life's true anchor is not found in possessions or in power, but in the presence of God. This shaking is also a reminder that life can shift without giving us time to prepare. No one schedules disaster. No one is ready for the moment the world beneath them moves. And yet, those whose hearts trust in something eternal find that they are spiritually prepared even when physically surprised. They discover that their peace does not come from the ground beneath them, but from the God above them. It is possible for the world to shake while the soul remains steady. It is possible for chaos to surround a believer while calm fills their spirit. That is the power of a foundation built on faith. The massive shaking in Israel is not just a geological event, it is a spiritual message to the entire world. It reminds us that while the earth may tremble, God's promises never will. While buildings may fall, His word stands forever. While nations may shake, His kingdom remains unshaken. And those who plant their lives in Him will stand firm even when everything else collapses. This is the call of the moment, to stop trusting the temporary and to anchor ourselves to the eternal. Only then can we face the shaking without fear and rise through it with strength. The shaking in Israel is not just a random occurrence. It is part of a much larger pattern, a sequence of events unfolding across the world that looks strikingly similar to the prophetic warnings written in Scripture thousands of years ago. For decades, people have heard about biblical prophecy, about signs of the times, about events that would signal the nearness of Christ's return. But hearing about something and witnessing it with your own eyes are two very different experiences. When the shaking happened, many felt a sudden awareness that the world is changing faster than ever before. It was as if prophecy stepped out of the pages and began walking across the earth. You can sense it in the atmosphere. Something big is happening, something spiritual, something global. The signs Jesus spoke of: wars, turmoil, unrest, natural disasters, an increase in knowledge, global tension focused on Israel, are rising like waves that refuse to settle. Prophetic signs have always existed, but the speed at which they are unfolding now is unprecedented. Every month, the world seems to enter a new stage of fulfillment. Conflicts erupt, alliances shift, economies tremble, and nations move into positions described long ago by the prophets. Israel, the prophetic centerpiece, continues to be the focal point of global attention. Every shaking, every crisis, every headline draws the world's eyes back to that small piece of land that carries eternal significance. When Jesus described the last days, he said they would be like birth pangs, intense moments of shaking that become more frequent and more severe as the time draws near. What we are witnessing looks exactly like that pattern: short moments of calm interrupted by stronger waves of global disturbance. And each wave pushes us closer to prophetic fulfillment. What makes this moment so powerful is not just the shaking itself, but the alignment of multiple signs happening at once. Wars are rising in regions that the Bible specifically mentions. Moral decline is sweeping the earth. Technology is advancing faster than human conscience can handle. Nations are forming alliances that mirror ancient prophecies. And now, even the earth is shaking in places that carry spiritual weight. All these signs together form a clear message. Prophecy is not distant, it is active, and the shaking in Israel is one more piece fitting perfectly into the puzzle of the times. People around the world feel it even if they can't explain it. There is a global sense of unease, a feeling that something significant is happening behind the scenes. It is the stirring of prophecy, and when prophecy stirs, God is calling humanity to pay attention. The shaking in Israel becomes more than a natural event. It becomes a spiritual megaphone, waking people from their sleep, urging them to see the bigger picture. This is not the moment to ignore the signs or to brush them off as coincidence. This is the moment to open our eyes and realize that the Bible is unfolding in real time. As prophetic signs accelerate, the world will not return to what it once was. Every shaking pushes the timeline forward. Every crisis moves humanity closer to a climactic moment Scripture has warned about. This is why so many feel a deep urgency in their spirit. They sense that something heavenly is drawing near, something divine is aligning, something eternal is approaching. And the shaking in Israel serves as a reminder that prophecy is not a theory. It is a map that leads us through the turbulence of this world and points toward the ultimate hope God has promised. This acceleration of signs is not meant to create fear but awareness, because when you understand prophecy, shaking does not surprise you, it prepares you. It reminds you that God is in control, that history is moving according to His plan, and that every sign draws us closer to the moment we have long awaited. The shaking in Israel is a confirmation that we are living in prophetic times, and those who are spiritually awake can feel the weight of that truth. This is the hour to watch, to discern, and to understand that we are witnessing Scripture unfold before our very eyes. Many people move through life half awake, caught in routines, responsibilities, and distractions that keep their minds busy but their spirits silent. They wake up in the morning, go through the motions, complete their tasks, and end the day without ever thinking about eternity, purpose, or the condition of their soul. But when a massive shaking happens, especially in a land as spiritually significant as Israel, it breaks through that sleep like a loud alarm. Suddenly, the things we thought mattered so much feel small, and the things we ignored for years become urgent. A shaking forces us to confront the reality that life is fragile, time is short, and the soul is eternal. God doesn't shake the earth to destroy people. He shakes the earth to awaken them. He shakes what is temporary so that we can see what is eternal. There are moments when God tries to reach us softly, through blessings, whispers, gentle guidance, but humanity often drifts away, distracted by noise, comfort, and worldly pursuits. When people forget their purpose, God sometimes allows shaking to bring their attention back. Not because He is angry, but because He is loving. A loving father will never let his children walk off a cliff without shouting to warn them. The shaking in Israel is one of those shouts, one of those moments when heaven grabs the attention of the world and says, "Wake up, return to me. Life is more than what you're chasing." And the truth is, the soul knows when God is calling. Even the most distant heart feels a stirring during times like these. Something inside begins to question, am I where I should be? Have I been drifting too far? Have I ignored God's voice too long? People who never prayed suddenly feel the need to pray. People who never thought about God begin searching for Him. People who were spiritually numb start feeling again. It's not the shaking itself that causes this. It's the spiritual awakening behind it. The ground may move, but what God is really trying to move is the human heart. A shaking exposes priorities. It reveals what truly matters. When everything is calm, people cling to temporary things: money, status, relationships, entertainment, comfort. But when the ground beneath them trembles, those things suddenly seem insufficient. In that moment, people realize that the only true security is God. No building, no government, no technology, no human plan can guarantee safety or peace. Only the one who created the earth can hold it steady. This realization is what brings many back to faith, not fear, but clarity. Shaking brings clarity. Sometimes the soul needs to be shaken so it doesn't sleep through its destiny. God doesn't want anyone to miss the calling He has placed on their life. He doesn't want anyone lost, distracted, or spiritually asleep while eternity is drawing near. The shaking in Israel is a reminder that God is still reaching out to humanity, still calling people home, still offering grace, forgiveness, and a chance to realign their lives. It is a moment for people to return to prayer, to open their Bibles again, to lift their eyes from the temporary and look toward the eternal. The shaking is not punishment, it is mercy, mercy that wakes before it's too late. Mercy that interrupts the routine, mercy that pulls us from spiritual sleep. When the ground shakes, heaven is giving humanity another chance to turn back, to pay attention, and to seek what truly matters. Those who understand this will see the shaking not as a catastrophe, but as an invitation, a divine invitation to awaken, to return, and to rebuild their lives on a foundation that cannot be moved. Israel has always been more than a nation. It is a divine timeline, a spiritual heartbeat, a prophetic clock ticking in alignment with God's eternal plan. Every event that happens there, whether political, social, or physical, carries a weight far beyond what the world sees. The massive shaking that struck Israel is not merely a disruption of land. It is a reminder that Israel remains the center of biblical prophecy, the location where God has chosen to reveal His greatest works, warnings, and wonders. Throughout Scripture, God consistently pointed humanity to Israel when speaking about the future. Not Rome, not Babylon, not America. Israel. When Israel moves, heaven speaks. When Israel trembles, prophecy stirs. And when Israel shakes, the whole world should pay attention, because nothing significant happens there without spiritual meaning and global implications. The entire Bible is woven around Israel's story, from the covenant with Abraham to the rise and fall of kingdoms, from the birth of Jesus to His promised return. God marked Israel as the land where prophecy begins and where prophecy will conclude. So when a shaking occurs there, it is not random. It is a piece of a much larger plan unfolding exactly as God said it would. Nations may ignore it, reporters may explain it scientifically, and skeptics may brush it aside. but those who understand prophecy recognize the significance immediately. They know that Israel is not just a geographical location. It is the hands of God's clock moving closer to midnight, and the shaking is one more tick, a loud one. Generation after generation, Israel has stood as a signpost for the world. Its struggles, its victories, its conflicts, its peace agreements, and even its natural disasters have all aligned with what the prophets predicted. The Bible declares that Jerusalem would become a burdensome